What's going on, guys, and welcome to Yoda Expedition. Today we're going to be looking at the sPOD Bantam X. We have a 3rd gen Tacoma here that we're going to be installing a bunch of lights, roof rack light, bumper light, pod lights. We have a bunch of lighting and we need something to power all of that lighting, so we're going to be installing this today. We're going to show you how to get it done, so stay tuned. So when it comes to the sPOD, there's a couple different configurations that you can get, but it's all going to start right here with this Bantam X, and then going off of that you have different ways of controlling it. So in this one we're going to be installing the touchscreen model, so you can get that. You can also get just your standard button model, or you can get one that is just strictly Bluetooth that you only operate from your phone. Obviously these are all going to be different price points, but another thing that you can do is get multiple control units. So say you want to have one of these in the cab of your truck, and then maybe you have a camp set up in the back and you want to have another one of these back there so you can control everything as well. You can do that with this setup. So your Bantam X is going to be able to control up to 8 different functions. If you don't need that, you can go with a 6th option, which is called the source. So you have your 8 options here, and they give you some stickers, which is nice. So once you have everything laid out and hooked up into this, you can label everything on the top so you know exactly what is what. So when it comes to installing this, it's actually pretty simple. We're going to be hooking this up on top of our fuse box cover underneath the hood. So there's 4 screws on the bottom. We're going to drill 4 holes. We're going to get that mounted, and then we have a power and a ground that we're going to get hooked up, and then we have 1 wire that's going to hook up to this. We're going to run it through the firewall, and then we're going to plug that into our touch screen here, and that's going to operate everything that we have hooked up to the Bantam X. So that comes with a bracket that you can use to mount your screen or whatever it is that you got. But in this particular install, we're going to be using this dash mount from Cali-Ray's LED. This is going to go right above the radio inside the Tacoma, and then we have these ball mounts, which are really nice, so we can get the screen mounted to that, and we can get it, configured however we want. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is get the Bantam X actually hooked up or mounted here to our fuse box cover. So we're going to pop this off, we're going to lay the template on there, we're going to mark our holes and get this drilled out so we can mount it on there. So I got the template here. I'm just going to cut this out and lay it on the inside of the fuse box cover. I'm going to try to avoid drilling through some of the words for what our fuses are here. So we'll see what we can do. All right, so we have the template here laid out where we want it. So you can see we have this all the way against this edge, and we have this hole. If you follow this line, it's in between the fuses. So when we drill this hole, we're not going to be drilling straight through something that not know what it actually is. If we ever need to use our fuse box, this one over here, we're going to be drilling right around here, so we don't have to worry about drilling through anything. And then these 2 up here are completely out of where the fuses are, so we're good there. So we got a drill with a 3/16 drill bit. Let's go ahead and get those holes drilled out. And then usually I'll take a deburring tool and just hit this really quick by hand to just get those burrs off. So with those 4 holes drilled out, now we need to figure out what orientation we want to mount this to our lid. So this hole is squared, so you can go in any direction, it's up to you. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in the Tacoma, and we're going to see which way we want to mount this so that the wires are routing nicely to our battery. All right, so we have this configured here on the fuse box cover. We're probably going to mount it like this. The wires coming out towards the back, and then we're going to take the positive, we're going to wrap it around the fuse box here and tuck it in between the fuse box and the battery, and then get the positive hooked up over here. And then the negative, we're going to hook up to the ground here on the fender well. According to sPOD, you do not want to hook this up to the negative right on your battery. So we have plenty of wire here to get it where we need, and this is actually the short option. There's 2 different wire lengths, so this is more than enough. The template that they gave you must have been printed at the wrong scale. These holes are supposed to be 3 inches apart, and when we measured, they are actually 2 7/8. So our holes are off. We're gonna have to print out a new template here, double check that it's right, and then we're gonna have to drill some new holes. So now we have our new holes drilled out. It's not the prettiest, but we're gonna use some little washers here to cover up the top, to cover up those extra holes. And we're just gonna put a little bit of black RTV on there when we get it installed. So we should be all right, but just double check your stuff before drilling your holes. All right, let's try again here. So we have our washers on there. I put some black RTV. So let's see if everything lines up. We'll get these screws started. So with this finally mounted up to our fuse box cover, we can go ahead, throw this back on, and then we can start routing our wires to our battery and our ground. So we got the wiring routed underneath this bracket here for the fuse box to just help hold it in place and hide it. And we have the fuse for the positive running in between the battery and the fuse box, and then that comes out over here, so we can just hook that up right to that. And then we have our ground, which is gonna go right here to this 10mm bolt on the inner fender. So with the wires all hooked up there, we need to now run this wire from the Bantam X through the firewall and then up into the interior where we're gonna be mounting the controller. So we're gonna get this hooked up to this. There's a grommet on the firewall. We're gonna pop that out to run this through, and then hopefully we can get it fished up to where we need it. So in the Bantam X, you can see here where the wires run through, you have like a little rubber flap, which is nice to just keep debris and water and stuff out. I mean, obviously it's not watertight completely, but it's gonna keep it as clean as possible in here. So we have our wire running through this. Go ahead and plug that in. We're gonna have to tuck that over like so we can close the lid. But now we can go ahead and get this ran inside. All right, so we got that rubber plug off here from the firewall. This is gonna be probably the hard part to get this through. What I would probably do is maybe take some electrical tape and tape this so that it is as tight as possible and you don't have to worry about it grabbing on the rubber or grabbing on the prong for the clip on the plug itself. What you might wanna do is go underneath the dash, and where the pedal is, your brake pedal, there is like some carpet there. You might wanna pull it back a little bit to give yourself some room. So we're gonna go ahead now and feed this through and get it to where we need. All right, so we have our wire fed through into the interior, and now you can go ahead and just hook up the controller of whatever it is that you got to wherever you are hooking it up on the dash. But since we're doing the Cali Rays dash mount, we're gonna go ahead and get that done, and then we can show you the Bantam X hooked up and working when we get there. All right, moment of truth. We're gonna go ahead now and check to make sure everything works properly on this sPOD system. So I should have to start it in order for it to turn on initially. There we go, it's on. All right, so I shut the truck off just so we can talk. So here is the screen. You have your 8 switches here. We obviously don't have anything hooked up to it just yet to test it out, but that's pretty much your install here for the sPOD Bantam X. So we currently only have one light bar on the Tacoma that we just installed recently. It's not currently wired. So we're gonna go ahead and get the harness made for that. We're gonna show you how to hook it up here into the Bantam X, and then we'll show you how to operate it. All right, we got that harness done. Used the plug that diode provides, and then just added some red and black wire to get our length. We got the connectors on there that you get with the Bantam X, and now we can go ahead and plug in our light bar, and we'll get this routed up into here and hooked up. So we have our wire routed through here, and we're gonna go ahead and hook this up to switch number 1. So all 8 of these are gonna be a 30 amp output. So that's kind of nice. You don't have to put things in certain spots depending on what you're trying to power. So we're gonna have our negative here and our positive right here. Get this tucked in so that we can close the lid. So let's go ahead and test that out. The light bar down here in the bumper should turn on. Switch 1. Simple as that. So we have the truck off. It hasn't been running in probably 15-20 minutes. You can operate this with the truck off. All you have to do is tap it. This will come on, and then you have your switches there. So switch 1. You can see we have a battery voltage meter here. If this drops down below 11.6 volts, it won't let you operate anything on here, just because then it won't allow you to start the vehicle. So it has kind of like a fail-safe, so that way you know you won't be draining your battery too much that you can't actually get your truck started. So that's actually really nice. So there's a bunch of functions when it comes to setting all this up. So if you go in the setup, you can click on switch 1 and we can type in bumper light bar. We can save it and then it would say bumper light bar there. You have things like you can change the brightness of the screen here. There is a lot. I'm just barely scratching the surface, but I just wanted to show you some of the quick key features. All right, guys, that's going to wrap this install up of the sPOD Bantam X in the Tacoma. If you guys have any questions about this install, just ask us down below in the comments. And if you want to pick one of these up, the touchscreen or anything else from sPOD, you can head over to yodaexpedition.com. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next one.